Okay, 2.4 slope-intercept form from a table. So we're looking at slope, and slope is going to be the change in the y values divided by the change in the x values. And the y-intercept is always when the x value is at 0. So if we look at the first table, we have the number of toppings on a pizza or ice cream and the total cost. So to find the slope, we're going to look at the difference between 6 and 8, and that was 2. And from 8 to 10, that was also 2. And 10 to 12, that was also 2. That's going to have a constant rate of change as long as the x values also going up by 1, going up by 1. Okay, so we're always going to write the change in the y's, which was 2 on the top, and the change in the x's on the bottom, which is 1. So that's $2 per topping. If we look at the y-intercept, it is where the x value is 0, and that is 6. So the equation is y equals 2x plus 6. That means it was probably $6 for the pizza or ice cream plus $2 for every topping. The next example is the same way. We're just going to look at the change in the y values. This between 34 and 30, it's going down 4, down 4. So we write -4 for the numerator. This one is going up by 3. And so we write 3 for the denominator for the x values. The y-intercept is when x is at 0. So our equation is going to be y equals -4/3 x plus 34. All right, so now we're going to actually do it without giving the values. All right, number 1, we're going to look at our table here, and we're going to look at our y values, which are always going to be on the right side, and the x values are going to be on the left side. So we're going to look from 6 to 9, it went up 3. From 9 to 12, also went up 3. And we could continue down the table, but we're just going to look at a couple of values. From -1 to 0, it went up 1. And from 0 to 1, it also went up 1. So the slope is going to be the y values, which is 3, the change in the y values, divided by the change in the x values. And we're going to simplify that fraction to make it 3. The y-intercept is when x is at 0. So the y-intercept is 9. So to write that equation, we would write y equals 3x plus 9. All right, looking at number 2, let's switch up our colors here. All right, number 2, we're going to always look at those y values first, okay, the change in the y values. From -11 to -12, down 1. And we can look at the change in the x values. 0 to 2 is going up 2. The slope, change in the y values, which is the -1, divided by the change in the x, which was 2. And the y-intercept is going to be where x is at 0. So the y-intercept is -11. Our equation, y equals -1/2 x minus 11. Next question. We're going to, again, look at the change in the y values. -4 to -1 is going up 3. And the change in the x values is going up 1. So the slope, 3 over 1, which simplifies to just 3. And then we're going to look at the y-intercept. The y-intercept is when x is at 0. If you'll notice in the x column, we do not have an x value. A 0 for the x value. So 0 would fall in order on the top because it would be 0, 1, 2, etc. So if we're going to go back 1, we need to do the opposite slope over here. So we need to go back 3. -4 minus 3 would give us -7. That equation could then be written as y equals 3x minus 7. All right, last table. All right, we have the change in the y values. And you don't always have to look at the top, so I'm actually going to go down to another one. Let's say I want to do these two. Okay, so from 8 to 9, that's going up 1, and from 5 to 7, that's going up 2. My slope can be written as 1 over 2, and then I need to find the y-intercept. The y-intercept, again, is when the x value is at 0. We do not have a 0 in the x column, so we need to figure out where 0 would be. 0 would fall between -1 and 1, so we need to figure out which number would be between 5 and 6. So again, if we were to go in between 5 and 6, that would be 5.5. So your y-intercept is 5.5. So we can write our equation. Y equals 1/2 x plus 5.5. Tables can also be horizontal, but they're done in the exact same way. Just remember that the x values are always first, and then the y values are second. This table shows the distance that a car has traveled, and we need to find the slope for this data. So we're going to start with looking at the change in the y's. So the change in the y's from 20 to 40 would be up 20, and that's going to go on the top of your fraction. And then we're going to look at the change in the x's, 25 to 50. It goes up 25, and that's going to go in your denominator. And we need to simplify this fraction. This fraction can be simplified because they can both be divided by 5. 20 divided by 5 is 4, and 25 divided by 5 is 5. So this slope is 4/5. The car traveled 4 minutes, because our x represents minutes, and 5 miles. All right. Now we can interpret the meaning now that we know how to find slope from a table. So we're going to look at this. A company charges an initial fee plus an hourly rate to rent the scooters. This table shows the cost to rent a scooter for different amounts of time. What is the hourly rate in dollars that the company charges to rent the scooter? So we're just going to look at the change in the y's. It's going up 10. Change in the x's, going up 2. Write our fraction, 10 over 2. Our slope is 5. That means $5 per hour. Okay. All right. Next question. A company rents bicycles to customers, and they charge an initial fee plus an hourly rate. This table shows that total cost to rent the bicycle for different amounts of time. What is the initial fee? So there's a keyword, initial fee. That refers to the y-intercept. So we need to figure out the y-intercept, or the initial fee that the company charges. In order to do that, we are going to have to find the slope first. So we're going to have to find the difference between 8 and 20, which is 12. And from 2 to 6, which is 4. So 12 over 4 is 3. So that means that we need to go back. If we go back to 1 hour, we would take off 3, and that would be $5. But we need to go back to 0. So we're going to take off another 3. 5 minus 3 is 2. So your y-intercept, or the initial fee, is going to be $2. All right. The next one, the table represents the cost of frozen yogurt based on the number of toppings. So it's very similar to the first problem that we started with. Determine the initial cost. So the initial cost, again, refers to the y-intercept. So we're going to find the change in the y's. So from $5.25 to $5.50, that's 30 cents. And the toppings is by 1. Okay, so our slope, 30 cents over 1. So that just basically means that it's 30 cents per topping. but we have to find that initial cost. Okay, so we're going to have to take off that first topping to go back to 0. So we're going to have to take off 30 cents. So $5.25 minus 30 cents would give us the total of $4.95 for the initial cost of the yogurt. All right. A company rents snow sleds to customers. The company charges an initial fee plus an hourly rate. The table shows the cost to rent the snow sled for different amounts of time. What is the hourly rate in dollars that the company charges to rent the snow sled? So hourly rate, we're just going to be finding the slope. So 12 to 24, that's going up 12. And 5 to 2, that's going up 3. The change in the y is 12 over 3. We can actually divide 12 by 3, which would give us a total of 4. So it would be $4 per hour.